this is going to be our overview and launch and all getting on the same pages for how we're going to start off KEEP on a really, really solid foot this year. So to start, we're actually going to do a little bit of what we're going to call restorative popcorning. So I'd like to have a few people share. We can start with any volunteers who want to share, but then we are going to popcorn and have a few people share out. How are you feeling right now going into this training? Just in general, where are you at? And if you could keep an eye on the participants and any raised hands, please, since I cannot see that when I'm sharing screen, that would be amazing.
Paige?
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Paige. Hopefully my mic is working. It's been a little spotty on this computer. How I'm feeling right now? I feel pretty good going into this training. I missed working for Just Us for Youth over the summer, so I'm really excited to kind of get back into it. What do I feel? What do you need most to feel prepared for the school year? I don't know, maybe just getting to know more people and know the people I'm going to be working with so we can all be a good, strong community.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Paige.
Recording in progress.
All right. I think someone has their... Can you all mute? I think there's somebody who is not muted. All right. Cool. Yeah. No, thank you so much for sharing that. And let's have a couple more people, volunteers, or we'll start to popcorn. All right, please.
Alicia, do you want to go?
I think you may be muted, Alicia.
Do we want to go back to Kaylin for now?
Yeah, Callan, can you share out how are you feeling going into this training?
Hi, sorry, I'm just trying to figure out the keys.
All good.
Well, I feel like this is a constant for me. Like I'm always nervous because I'm nervous and excited about going into new things. So what I feel like I need the most to be prepared for the school year is just like a day where I can have like a sense of calm. The calm before the storm, basically. But I'm excited. And also my name is Callan. It's pronounced like calendar. Hope that helps.
Thank you for sharing, Callan. All right, anyone else? Alicia, do you want me to come back to you? All right, let's popcorn a couple of people as well. Oh, Cassandra.
Hello, my name is Cassandra.
Hello.
Right now I'm feeling pretty good. I was only in this program for a couple months, so I think I feel that I need, hopefully going into this school year, get more experience and more time. So overall, I feel good.
Awesome. So what I'm hearing from folks is some people are, you know, excited, and then there's also some nervousness and some, oh shoot, what am I going to need to be prepared for the school year? What is that going to look like? So hopefully today we'll answer a few of those questions as you start to, you know, piece together a timeline in your head. And admit. And hi, Alicia. I think you got cut out of the meeting. Are you back with us? All right. So what I may do is check in. I think you're muted. So I may check in with you in a minute. And yeah, if you need to leave the call and come back, I have the admitting and I can just let you in. I see someone in the chat. Can someone check the chat for me?
Yes, I wrote in the chat. I actually raised my hand and put the little raised hand up. I think maybe it was overlooked, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
it's okay. One thing I really feel the need to prepare for is delegating my time between students who really need the extra homework help, especially when we're short on staff.
Mhm.
Besides that, I'm more than positive this school year is going to be amazing.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing, Trinity. And I'm sorry that I think I had you fall through the cracks. Awesome. Okay. So feel free to continue sharing if you think of things that you really need to feel prepared for the school year. Our goal with these trainings is going to be that by the end, you have almost a toolbox of, okay, this is what I can do in this situation. This is what here are questions that I can ask. Here are ways that I can practice healthy discipline. So you don't have to come up with those things in the moment. You already have them and you know what they're going to look like. So that is where we will get started. Okay. And then I also wanted to say, the reason we're doing these restorative questions is that this is a preview. Later in these trainings, once we get in person, we actually are going to be facilitating a restorative circle, just like we would be doing with our students. Kind of checking in again on the school year, positive experiences, negative experiences. And this is an opportunity to really share out. We're listening, we're keeping track of like, oh, this is where people are at, and so on. So that is going to be happening. Get ready. There's definitely something to doing those in person. So that is why we're starting with a little bit of popcorning. But with that, I'm gonna move on. And let's see, let's admit folks. All right, great. So here's our schedule for trainings. Like I said, today is our launch and overview. It's going to be fully virtual, as are Wednesday and Thursday of this week. So we're starting the launch overview calendar. I've probably said that so many times that you're incredibly tired of me saying that, but I can't guarantee that I won't say it again. Day 2 and day 3, we are really going to be focusing on really understanding restorative justice, not just like in theory, oh, what does this mean? But what does it look like in tutoring specifically? So we're going to be looking tomorrow at those 5 R's of restorative justice in education and ways that the education system may help or hinder those restorative practices, as well as starting to think about what we can do to be restorative in the classroom. And then on day 3, we're going to talk again about perspectives and mindset. We're going to look at a strengths-based perspective and a need-based perspective, and just ways to really change the way we see our students. So that's going to be happening on throughout this week. The way that we have this set up is going to be kind of like you got a lecture and you got a lab. So days 4 and 5 of trainings will be next week. I believe it is the 26th and 27th of July in person. I believe you've been given the details for that. It's going to be in Building A at Purpose Church. Day 4, we are going to be doing safety and supervision, figuring out the hard lines, figuring out what interventions look like, when you need to intervene, all of those things. And day 5 is kind of our 2-week survival guide. My kind of joking term for this is surviving the witching hour. How you're going to work with students, build relationships, and just what those first 2 weeks are going to look like, schedule-wise, planning things out in, hopefully at that point, your school groups. So that is our training. And then just to add, once the schools start in August, I believe we'll cover this in just a little bit, but there will also be an additional on-site training bit for your school specifically, for each school, so that we can actually see this stuff in practice. Because it's not enough, I think, to just say, all right, you need to be supervising your students constantly and you can't turn your back on them. Sometimes you have to look at the space sometimes I have to look at the space that I'm in and say, okay, so what is that gonna look like? If I'm at the front of the room, what can I see? If I'm moving around, how is that gonna work? So we're really gonna work on that strategic planning. And with that, I want to kind of give myself, I want to introduce myself, and I also want to bring in Amy, who is going to be kind of my right-hand person throughout this this training bout, especially during the lab portions. We are working together as members of our Keep Coaching team, which is going to be, we're going to touch on in just a couple of slides. So I'm just going to start and say hi, everyone. I'm pretty sure you all already know me, but my name is Sketch Mead. My pronouns are he, him, his. And I am a part of the Keep Coaching team. For me, that is going to look a lot like being someone that you can consult with. So if you're kind of stuck with a student, if you're stuck with a parent or principal and your lead is handling the logistical sides of, oh, okay, what do you need in this position? Who needs to get the email sent and stuff? I would be someone that you can come to for additional resources, brainstorming, discussing what's sort of been going on, what your reactions have been to it. Very much a general support, and also let's figure out if you need additional help with this, what is that going to look like? If I can't help you, I'm going to find the person who can, so to speak. So that's me. I have a real passion for community building and then also for mental health. I am a master's student in counseling, so those are a lot of the skills that I'm bringing to the table, as well as, you know, trying to bring in research and make sure that the ways that we're helping our students are, you know, some of the best, the most supported by data and all of that. So I'm really excited to be kind of stepping into more of that role and starting with training. And Amy, could you go ahead and share out as well?
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity. I have a little COVID brain going on right now because I have been diagnosed with COVID. So forgive me, I'm going to be working a little slow in the brain. I am coming on the training team. My focus is mostly classroom management and curriculum. So for those who know, I led the curriculum team last year. This year, it is just me. So I hope to be working alongside site captains and tutors to really hone in curriculum specific for your site, and then help out with various different class management techniques, especially in large groups, as I've been doing this for about 7 years. So I have a lot of experience in large group class management and in large group tutoring as well. I think I want to echo Sketch's sentiments. We are here to come alongside and to help you make Keep the best that it can be at your school site. And with that, you know, if something's not working, especially curriculum wise, let me know. We will sit down and we'll formulate a plan. And we'll get into more details about how curriculum's going to work this year. It's going to be very different this year. For now, just know that I'm here to help you. I'm here to work alongside you, and I'm really excited for all the great things that we're going to do this year in our school system.
The goal is collaboration. If there's like one word that you can take away from this, I think it would be that. neither of us are going to be like, oh, this is 100% the person in charge. It's not a supervisory, this is how you need to talk to students, or this is how your curriculum needs to work. It is 100% having that person there who can, yeah, help you grow, because I think we all have places that we can do that. So I'm really excited to have you helping with some of those hands-on classroom management techniques next week. Thank you so much for sharing that, Amy. We also, I'm just going to highlight, because I saw you here, I was really glad to see Angel and Genesis, our returning leads, so snaps for that. And Lauren, thank you so much for being here as our current assistant supervisor. So I believe those are also folks that you can continue to talk to. All right, moving forward. All right, here we go. So we are going to format training a little bit differently than we've done in the past. I believe in the past you have been asked to, it's been suggested that you take notes. This time we are specifically asking that you take your notes and you will be uploading these to a folder specifically for you on the Google Drive. The reason that we're doing this is because, like I said, collaboration, we want to, you know, you're helping us help you. So the way this is going to work is you'll write up your notes, you'll upload them, and then if at some point we are talking in the future about, let's say we're talking about positive behavior intervention supports, the PBIS system that we use within Pomona Unified School District, we can look at your notes together and we can say, okay, hey, do you remember going over this? There's a lot of information, so sometimes it's really helpful to have things written down. So we are asking that you will share and upload those notes. I believe Lindsay is in the process of making the folders for those. So the goal is going to be, let's have the notes that are for these virtual trainings all put into your folder by the end of the week before we start our in-person trainings. And then the same thing will be true when we do in person, you know, having them all uploaded. And it can really just be take a picture with your phone so that it's readable by the end of that week. So with that, that is going to be what's going on with notes. I see a couple folks in the chat. Are you there, Lauren? Can you help me with the chat?
Yes, it's just about Wi-Fi.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Anybody have any questions about this with notes? Questions, reactions, comments? Go for it, Callan. What's up?
Let's say if you're taking written notes, is it possible to just take a picture of it and then upload it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. There's no need to transcribe them if they're written. We just want to be able to see, one, that you have them, and two, be able to see like, hey, what's on them? Because if that way, if you miss something, we can say, oh, okay, you know what? We covered this in training. Let's go over it again. There is no grading for these notes. These are not homework. This is specifically just continuing to build that support system that you have in place. Any other questions, comments, anything? And if you would rather talk in private, I will also be available after this, this training.
I just really quick sketch. Also, I don't know if I missed this or not because I got kicked out of Zoom. But just to be very clear, like we're not trying to big brother anybody. This also helps us on the coaching team so that when you ask us a question or you ask for coaching, we can go back and see like, well, we did present it this way. Maybe we need to present the information differently to either this person or a group of people or anything like that. So this is really a tool for us just as much as it's a tool for you, so that you always have your notes and we know what's being picked up and what's being missed.
And if Amy and I are, you know, training on something and I, you know, and we both have COVID brain, and we say, oh, we totally went over that and didn't, that's also a way to keep us accountable. Like, no, you didn't go over this, so you need to go over it again. My hope is that it'll help even out the playing field a little bit, and just, yeah, allow us to be accountable to each other, which is, after all, one of the 5 R's of restorative justice is responsibility. So yeah, it is not a big brother thing. It is a let's support each other thing. All right, I'm gonna keep going. All right. So with that, just kind of reviewing in terms of our chain of command, we are gonna have our fearless leader, Osahan, as the KEEP supervisor, and he will be back with us next week. And the parts of the chain of command are gonna look very similar. We have 10 school sites currently. So we got Osahan and we got Lauren as our assistant supervisor. As I think the way that he put it would be, you know, the general practitioner. Pretty much anything can come to him. And then underneath that, we have specialists. So we each are going to have a lead coordinator, one for Diamond Bar, one for Pomona. I believe that is Angel and Genesis. And then we also, like I've mentioned, are going to have our coaching team. And under that, we have, you know, like I said, that is support, training, and resources. So we will do professional development and trainings where it's needed, site observations in person. Let's see what's going on and what can change and what moving parts there are at your site to keep track of. Curriculum and resource development, getting supplies. I know that was a challenge last year, and I believe Amy is taking that on. Onboarding as needed, depending on our staff needs. And like I said, one-on-one or group support. And I actually am going to make sure that you have right now my contact information so that you can reach out. For those of you who do not have it, here is my phone number. And hang on, we're in a meeting, yeah. And I'm gonna, I'll share my Calendly page as well. So these are ways to get in contact with us and just have that readily available. Here are point people in addition to your lead and coordinator. Because sometimes our leads are doing the jobs of superheroes and they may not always have time to like, okay, let's work on compiling resources. Let's talk about what it means, for example, to call a crisis hotline. That's something that I can help with within coaching. Because I'm not running around to 5 different school sites. And then, yeah, site observations are something that we can work with leads to coordinate if and when that needs to happen, how it's going to be helpful, and so on. Any questions so far about chain of command and how, oh, and then of course, this part is similar to last year. Underneath your lead would be a site captain, keeping track of things day to day at the site, keeping track of paperwork, and then beneath that would be your tutors. Any questions about that so far? Comments, reactions, things that are coming up for you, unanswered needs? Okay. And then I believe I already said, we got 10 schools this year, which I think in the perspective of Osahan, one of the things that he has shared that I definitely agree with is that this is a chance to really solidify what we're doing at our school sites and just really make KEEP something that runs well. I think we're good at stepping in when there's crisis, and I think we're good at bailing water out when the ship is sinking and all of these different things. And now we get to focus on how do we narrow down the things that are going to be best for KEEP. Yeah, we have a few less schools. We had like 17 last year, and now we have 10 in our contract with the district, which I believe may improve staff ratios. And also I know that the schools that we have a really solid relationship with us. So collaboration with the principal is always super important. All right. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for asking that, Jose. All right, so moving forward, here's the part you've all been waiting for, KEEP launch. So here's what we need to be keeping track of in August and September. So first couple of weeks of August is when school starts, and that is when outreach starts. So in August, the goals are going to be outreach, getting in touch with parents, getting referrals, planning curriculum, back to school meetings with parents, and then, like I mentioned previously, that on the ground training and planning and classroom management with Amy. Once you have your site space, we'll be able to do a little bit of strategizing and coming up with game plans. Tutoring is going to start after those first 2 weeks of school. So third week of school, tutoring starts. At that point, the first 2 weeks of curriculum are going to be, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, are going to be pre-made for you. We're going to focus on getting to know students, establishing class expectations, making some agreements for how the session is going to look, and really just focusing on relationship building and trust with your students. So you won't have to worry about those first 2 weeks, and you can start planning ahead, determining what your students are going to need, which we will talk about in a minute as we talk about curriculum. The other thing that you're doing in those first few weeks of KEEP launch is kind of developing, if you have any plans for a reward system, if you have goals for the school, if you know what you want the program to look like there. This is when you're collaborating with the principal, with teachers, and really starting to build out that network, because it can never be done with just one person, right? Will tutors be conducting outreach themselves? That is a good question. I think that it will be tutors and leads, and I will get back to you on that once that comes a little closer. All right. And it may also, yeah, it would definitely depend on the school site. Thank you. So what we're looking at calendar wise, first week of school, I think they start at the beginning of August. Does anybody have that off the top of their head? Because I forgot to write it on here.
I believe it's August 11th.
August 11th. Great, thank you. So then that would make the 19th would be the second week, and the 26th would be the third week of school. And by then, the goal will be that y'all as tutors are ready to go. You know what you're doing those first weeks, so you don't have to scramble and go, oh my gosh, what is this gonna look like? That was definitely a challenge last year. Yes, August 11th. And back to school meetings with parents, that'll be something that we can plan in the next couple of weeks and just determine how we're going to reach out to parents and discuss things like, you know, what is KEEP going to look like this year? Make sure that they're all clear on what the plan is. and kind of start to gauge their interest. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. Any other questions about this start of launch or about Keep launching?
Stitch, I actually had a question. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
Okay, I was just gonna ask, so in regards of like outreach, do you know how that's gonna go? Are we gonna have like priority for students that were enrolled the previous year, or how is that gonna go about?
That's a really good question, and I think it's going to probably depend on your school site and how they structure things. I know that for some schools last year, it was very much like on a need basis, and so it was like, okay, these students are the ones that need help in Keep the most urgently. And so sometimes there might be parents who request like, oh, I really want my child in Keep so that I can pick them up after school, or so that I don't have to pick them up right after school. But that school site might be like, no, we need to do this by reading scores, or we need to do this by this and that. I've already gotten a few emails from parents that are like, when are we going to be registering? I want my student to be at the front of the list. But yeah, it's definitely, so what I'm saying is that it's definitely going to depend on principals and teachers and how they are handling things. Does that make sense or answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Some people do have priority lists, and some people may have a small number of students, so anyone who's interested can join. Yeah, all right. Thank you for asking that, Eliza. All right. So I think that's going to be pretty much it on August, September. And really in the next, this week and next week, you'll also, I believe, especially when we're doing in person, have some time to start planning. So you're not just getting dropped in. That is really the goal here. So a few things are sort of changing and shifting, like we've talked about. And I'd like to turn it over to you a little, Amy, to talk about curriculum and what the goal is going to be for that in making sure that we have really a solid structure.
Absolutely. So I see we're starting off with clubs at the top.
Yeah.
So I have y'all put a folder on the curriculum drive titled clubs. Those are clubs are, and I think Antonia, correct me if I'm wrong, you had clubs on your campus. And I don't know if ours are the same, but clubs are basically lessons that are formulated around the same topic that students would go to each week. Right now, I have them set up as 5 weeks worth of clubs. And Sketch, you're still screen sharing, so I am unable to.
Let me stop screen sharing. And please, can you share a little bit about these? Yeah, share what this sort of looks like with clubs and why what the idea is behind this and the so what, basically.
Right. So let me take a moment and pull those up. And which one? Meditation Club was the one that we said I would share?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Just as an example.
Apparently I cannot find it. It disappeared from my club folder. There it is. Sorry, y'all, you get to hear me sing to myself while I'm looking for stuff. I want to share this. So this is a template. This one particularly is a meditation club. I'm still working on filling in the top, but this looks familiar. I think if you use the curriculum last year, this looks a little bit familiar. And we use this same template for the 21-week curriculum. But as of right now, these are going to be our clubs. So this is the meditation club. These are templates. So if you notice each one says template, that's because you don't have to do exactly what's on here. This is a jumping off point for you. So if you would like to do a meditation club, but you think this wouldn't work for your students, you can adjust as necessary. And what's going to happen is you're going to fill out this top here, the school site. You're going to make a copy, file, make a copy, and title it your school, and then meditation club or whatever club that it is. And save that copy to your drive. Please do not edit the template. Please do not edit the template. So in your version on your drive, you're going to put the school site, whoever is going to be leading the club, and what weeks during the school year you're going to do it. And I mean the dates that you're going to do it, not week 1, week 2, week 3, the actual dates. And then here we have the weekly themes. And here we have the activity that's going to be happening, the materials that are needed. Now, I'm going to make everybody dizzy by scrolling all the way to the bottom. Here, included in this template, as I edit it, is going to be the actual lesson plan, the detailed lesson plan. So what standards do these meet, right? This is the why. We want to be able to show the school district that we are supporting them however we can, via Common Core standards, via state content standards. What are the learning goals and objectives? So here's the thing. When we're doing lessons, whatever the lessons are, we need to have a clearly stated goal. We don't want to just do it to do it. This is not I guess a time eater, right? We don't want to do things that are just time eaters. We want to have a goal behind our lessons. Now, this is different from activities. So activities are things that will enhance skills. So Mind Math just by itself is an activity. It's a game that kids will play that help them get better at their math skills. But it's not a lesson. A lesson is where there's instruction, where there's teaching about a topic, and then an activity that goes along with the topic to help them learn it better. And then here, instructional resources. So we need to know what it is that you're going to need to complete this lesson. And underneath here, none of these are done yet. I still have a few weeks. So underneath here will be the actual step-by-step lesson plan. And you'll see it'll be week 1, day 1, day 2. So this template is for a club that's 2 days a week. And so the club that's 2 days a week would be, let's say, Tuesday, Thursday. So they would have this club and maybe another club or two, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And students would get to pick which club they wanted to go to on that Tuesday, Thursday.
Thank you for sharing that, Amy. And can you explain to us, what is the why behind, why are we doing clubs? What is this all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So clubs are ways that students can engage with things that they have a little bit of say in. So I think I'm still sharing my screen. If you can see, there's a basketball club, there's a board game club. So these are things that students are going to enjoy doing, and they get to choose. That's going to help us develop a better relationship with our students. And then not only are we going to develop a better relationship with our students, but we're going to be able to teach them principles like SEL principles with the board game club, believe it or not. You can also teach math skills with some board games, but that's another story for another day. And then basketball, they're going to learn basketball skills, physical education skills there. They're going to learn teamwork there. So we're teaching them some social emotional things through these clubs, and they actually get to choose which one they do, which gives them agency. So it helps develop that relationship with the students.
I think it's worth noting also that since each tutor can potentially have a club that they are working with, you may be able to pick something that that plays to your strengths. That is a great question, Carlos. And that is a part of what we're doing with curriculum and coaching. That is why you let us know ahead of time what you're going to need. And we know when the club is so that we can order things for you and make sure that they're there. That is a really big change that we're trying to implement this year. But it relies on that communication. And that's why we're asking things to be thorough like this.
Right. And like Sketch said, you're going to have the first 2 weeks of the school year. We're not going to be in session. And the first 2 weeks after that, when we do start session, the first 2 weeks of session are planned already with various different team building activities and things like that. So you'll have those whole 4 weeks to plan curriculum in advance so that you can submit it to us, well, me, ultimately, and then I can go ahead and purchase the supplies that you're going to need.
Purchasing things in bulk on Amazon, pulling out all the stops to make sure that folks get the resources that they have or that they need. Because I know that was a big issue last year in terms of, oh, I want to be able to do this, but I don't have the materials or I don't have access to printing. That is a really big part of what we're trying to do within the coaching team, is make sure that that gets to you. Esmeralda, did you have a question?
Yeah, so let's say like if we want to do like a arts and crafts club for like one day like out of the week, like a Friday.
Yeah.
So will there be like a tutor assigned to that club? Like will there be different clubs, like, because I know you said like the students will get to choose which club they want to go to. Like let's say will there be like 2 tutors having 2 different clubs and then the students get to choose which one? Like I'm a little bit confused on that part.
Yeah, no problem. Let me hopefully unconfuse you. So you all as a team, you're going to get together and you're going to decide what clubs you want at your school site based on your students. At the moment, I think there are 16 different club templates, but you're not
You will not have 16 clubs.
Right. You will not have 16 clubs. Please do not do that to yourself or to me. But you will be able to choose clubs based on what your students like. So let's say you choose the soccer club and an art club, right? And you do those clubs for the 5 weeks and your students don't really like them or something didn't quite go right, then you can come back to the drawing board and after that 5 weeks, choose a different club for your students, right? And these can be, there are templates on there in that folder, which is on the curriculum drive. So you can all choose pretty much, I'm down for almost anything. I'm not joking, right? If you can give me a standard, a Common Core standard or a state standard that it meets, and you can give me a reason why or an object, blah, blah, blah. What word am I looking for, Sketch?
I think a reason why. I think that
reason
fits.
why that
You
works.
know, how is this gonna support your students?
Objective. Yes, thank you, Jose. My brain, COVID brain, y'all. It's a real thing. So an objective. If you can give me an objective and then make lesson plans, I'll be down for it. Like there's one in there that's literally titled Mythbusters Club, and it takes experiments that Mythbusters did and makes them safe for students in the classroom, right? So it's things like that. I'm down for almost anything if you can make it educational. And so there's that.
And I'd like to add to that bit because I think sometimes when people hear that, like, oh, it needs to conform to a Common Core standard or something, that can be kind of intimidating, but that is also a part of why we're here, to help you figure out, okay, I really want to do, let's just say, oh, now I'm trying to think of a club that we don't already have. We have so many. Well, let's say that it was the Mythbusters Club. You know, that you came up with this and you really wanted to do this, and you were trying to figure out how that could connect to something educational. I mean, that is part of what we're here for, is let's look at it together. Let's identify, you know, what are sort of the age appropriate standards and how can we make those connections? And I will say it is of my mind that connections can always be made. We just have to find them. So again, collaboration is the name of the game there.
So
Yeah.
to finish Esme's question, ultimately you would decide who would be in charge of what club and
Mhm.
support each other. So let's say you have a soccer club and there's a tutor who is really good at soccer. They would be the lead tutor for the soccer club, and somebody else would be there to help them in the event that they had more than 20 students, which may or may not happen given the site, right? Additionally, other things we can do, comic book club. I'm down for a comic book club. I'd be all over that. You know, you could do a movie or TV show club. That would be a little harder to do, but you could do it based on resources. There's all kinds of things that you can do. And I'm really creative when it comes to tying into education, let me tell you. So if you want to do it, set up a meeting with me and we will work it out.
Got it. Okay. So would it be like, if we're just doing that club, like, would it be if a tutor's like assigned to it? Are we doing it like during like recess times, or are we like spending a day just full of the club? Like, how does that work?
Good question. So that's going to depend on, honestly, on your site captain and your site. Okay. I am not here to be like, this is your schedule and this is when you must do this, that, or the other thing. You guys, y'all, I'm trying to move away from you guys. Y'all are going to figure out as a team when the best time is for you to do your clubs, right? There's no pickiness in that regard, right? Anybody who's worked with me knows that I'm not super picky about stuff. If you have a good plan and it's going to work for your students, go for it. I'm all for it. Just as long as there's communication and I know what you're doing so I can get you the supplies when you need them. Yeah, so for us, for Lexington, let's say we were back at Lexington and we're doing it, we would have done it at the end of the day. So we would have done it in the last 45 minutes of the day. And that's because our first through third graders dismiss a half hour earlier than our 4th through 8th grade. So in order to get them all in the same spot at the same time, we would do it at the end of the day. Whereas at another school site, that might not be an issue. Everybody dismisses at the same time. Maybe you want to give your students a brain break and do clubs first, right? So it's that kind of stuff. I highly recommend that you don't do clubs during recess time, simply because we want to make sure we're getting them that physical activity outside. So we do want to make sure we're getting our students outside for a little bit. And some of these clubs are like an art club. There's a writing club. There's a book club, chess club. Those are indoor activities. So we do want to make sure our students are getting at least, I think it's a half an hour. Is it, Lauren, of outdoor time, or is it 15 minutes?
I think 2 sessions of 20 minutes is ideal, but 30 if not.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. And again, I think we kind of need to move on from this. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to message me directly after training, and I'll be here to answer them, specifically involving the curriculum.
Whoops, I was muted. I'm sorry. And please know also that this is new, this is experimental. So if this ends up being like 100%, wow, this is not working for anyone at any site. Again, we're continually reevaluating things. The goal is to have students have a little bit of choice, have something to look forward to, and also be able to bond with them around things that are their interests, so that we're kind of working with the whole student and not just, okay, we're doing, Achieve 3000 every single day, and it feels like a chore for the student and they don't want to be there. We'll talk about this tomorrow, but definitely, we're running with the principle that kids don't learn from people they don't like. So this is part of it, is just, being able to build those relationships in a different way. So I'm going to share my screen once more, and we will continue on and share a little bit more about curriculum. So talked about clubs, what they are, why they're starting them, talked about there is going to be kind of a divide between lessons, like lessons with an activity, and then like, oh, sometimes you're just doing an activity. A lot of our curriculum, and you can add on to this, please, Amy, focuses on project-based learning and doing things that are hands-on. Why do we do that?
Are you asking me or are you asking
I am
everyone else?
asking you.
Okay. So
Well, you know what? I'll ask everyone else first.
fair, fair.
Why should we focus on hands-on activities and project-based learning? Anyone want to take a shot at that?
Is it because they're like it like the students have different learning styles and it kind of like stimulates, like getting that hands-on activity stimulates like their other senses, not just like sitting there learning?
Yeah, that can definitely be a huge part of it. If you were here with us for spring break, you probably talked with me about multisensory instruction and how much that can help students with learning disabilities. Yeah, definitely. That's a big part of it, the learning styles as well. Anyone want to add on to that? Great answer. Thank you, Esme.
Alicia?
Lucia?
Yes, I think it also improves like their cognitive abilities and skills. So that's one thing.
Yeah, totally. Thank you for sharing. And anyone else? Is there anything you'd like to add on to that, Amy, or do you think we've covered it?
Yeah, the last, but by no means the least, is because let's be real, it's more fun. Part of one of the things that I've learned in working with students and young kids for so long is that if the kids want to do it, then their parents will let them do it. So if our kids, our students, meaning not our baby goats, but our students, are wanting to come to our program, that says a lot for us. So what we're trying to do is have our program look different than a school classroom, but have the same educational impact as a school classroom. That's really what the goal is. And we're going to try doing that through hands-on project-based learning and activities and clubs and all that kind of stuff.
Well, also continuing with homework help and homework support, which is a really big thing for students in our community. So that's what we got on curriculum. There's a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline, but I'm hoping that it's sounding like good stuff to you and that creative juices are starting to fire and people are thinking about, ooh, what's something that I'm interested in that I could potentially lead a club with. Again, this is why we have curriculum as a piece of our coaching team here. So please, as Amy said, continue to talk to her about this. I'm also hoping that this is helpful for you all because one piece of feedback that we got was that it's very overwhelming to try and plan lessons and not know what to do and all of that. So we're hoping to give you a little bit of insight into how to do that. Start with the first 2 weeks all ready to go and just continue that process because it really involves a lot of thinking ahead and sometimes it can be hard when it feels like you have to improvise it. So hopefully this actually takes some stuff off of your plate because you know what you're going to do ahead of time and you're not scrambling to figure it out last minute. All right. And finally, so just some things that are coming down the pipeline as well. Again, I think things to look forward to. Nora Jacob, who is the supervisor for Justice for Youth's RJ and CARE program, has done facilitator training this summer, teaching people about kind of the hands-on practice of restorative justice, conducting community circles. And her goal, I believe, is to get all of our Justice for Youth staff trained in this through these groups and cohorts. This is really exciting. I believe she's been sort of planning this with folks at the University of Laverne. And we've talked a lot about the theory of restorative justice and, oh, this is why we want to do what we do. And this really focuses on the practices and the hands-on ways of asking questions and relationship building. So look forward to that coming later in the fall. It's going to be done in groups and cohorts, so you'll have a group that you go through it with. Keep an eye out for that. We're also moving towards collaboration with other programs in Justice for Youth. I think sometimes KEEP, especially last year, could feel like its own little island. And the same can be true of other programs. So we're working to try and build more of a network of support. Keep working with Connect and working with OnPoint. Like we had some of the OnPoint folks at our trainings. A lot of things that we do overlap, even if the ways that we do them are different. So we'll definitely be continuing with that. And really, like I said, the plan for this year is that I know that people did a lot of really good work last year, and this year we're going to solidify it and figure out, what do lessons look like? What are the SEL goals? How do we really bring restorative practices into tutoring? And that happens in collaboration with school sites, with principals, with teachers, with supervisors. And ultimately the hope is that through that, we can grow KEEP's reach in the area. And next year, look at future districts and school sites and say, here's our model, here's what's working well, let's bring it to you. So I think this is an exciting time for KEEP. I think this is a busy time for KEEP, but when is it not a busy time for KEEP? But I'm hoping that you also feel some of the excitement of that and the plans forward. I'm hoping that you feel supported as we try to become point people for you, and really allow you to do the work that you do tutoring students. So that is pretty much gonna wrap up today's training. Actually, I will be on this call if you want to have a chat with me or anything comes up for you. Tomorrow we are go for it, Amy. What's up?
Really quick, I totally forgot
Please.
this because COVID brain. Just so that there's no misunderstanding when this does come up, I am going to be asking site captains and or leads. I don't think we've worked that quite out yet, Lauren, but to turn in their curriculum beforehand so that we have a record of what we're doing on campus for audits, for justifications. So when we go to the district, right, and we ask for a new contract or we ask for more schools or whatever we're going to be doing, we have this showing that this is what our program looks like. So that is one of the things that is coming down the pipeline very quickly is that we're going to keep track. I'm going to, well, Sketch and I are going to keep track of what you're doing specifically at your school site. I'm going to make it easy. It's not going to be that, oh, you have to go here and fill this out, and then you have to upload these 5 documents here, and then you have to do this. I'm going to try to make it real easy. So we are going to be doing that. And that's going to benefit us as well as benefiting you in the event that you are like, hey, we did this club at the beginning of the year and I want to do it again, right? There you go. You have it. We have it. Sorry, I wanted to make sure that I remembered to say that.
The motto here is always 2 weeks ahead, so that you can plan things. It's hard to do this by the seat of your pants. I know that from tutoring that I've done and from past of being a lead, and I know that it's true for many of you. So the more that you plan ahead, the better things are going to be. And again, the goal is not to be Big Brother. The goal is to work together and support each other. So with that, I'm just gonna leave you all with tomorrow's theme. We're going to dive into restorative justice. So I just want you to be thinking about that over the course of the next few hours or later in the day. Just set some time aside and think about what did you learn about restorative justice, or what do you already know about it? And really, even more, how do you feel you practiced it at your site last year? I believe everyone is a returning tutor, so they will be able to share even if you were only here for a few weeks, whether you were here since August. I'm looking forward to diving into that with you. And I believe that is actually the end of our presentation. So I know there's been a lot of information.